Tom Brady can't lose. Come on, supermodel wife, 6'4", handsome, best quarterback of all time, according to my guests here. Well, we'll see what they think. He is the star of the New England Patriots. Some consider him the greatest quarterback of all time. Well, he's got a big win in court and a big win on the field. The judge tosses out his 4-game suspension by the NFL, and once again, back in action this week, he scores yet another decisive victory in his season opening performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's say hello to my guests. Bill Rosenberg, political science professor at Drexel University, Coach Stevan Lynn, fatherhood expert from DeedsDrivenDads.com, Pete Mundo, sports anchor at WFAN and CBS Sports Radio, and joining us live via Skype is Glen Rothstein, an attorney who specializes in litigation for entertainment professionals and athletes as well. Pete, you're one of our preeminent experts here. What's your take? Tom Brady get to skate, or did he get what he deserved, or what's your thoughts?
Well, the whole Deflategate situation, Logan, was overblown from the start. What happened here was the Patriots have been cheating, according to the rest of the NFL, for years now. And this was the chance for the league to nail Tom Brady, to nail Bill Belichick, to nail the Patriots for what they viewed as a decade and a half of cheating. And this is the only evidence they could kind of put together to really take him down for something. In the grand scheme of things, it was small potatoes, and that's why in the end Tom Brady got off here. And that's what this came down to. Was it a big deal? Not really. It wasn't. But it was all they could get against these guys to try to get them for what they felt were almost 2 decades of wrongdoing. And that's what happened here.
But why should Tom Brady be the scapegoat for that? That guy could throw a cement football. He doesn't need a softened football, right?
Of course not. But everyone has felt this way, from former quarterbacks like Troy Aikman, who said this. There's no way that any air was taken out of that ball unless Tom Brady said so. These guys, Brady, Bill Belichick, they are control freaks from the top down. Nothing happens without their approval. And that's why, from myself to everyone else, even though Brady got off the hook here, at least for now, we still have an appeal to go through, he's guilty.
Okay. And he might be guilty. Bill, apparently he was denied due process, and that's what this federal judge said, not that the NFL didn't make its case.
Right. The judge never said that the balls were not deflated. The judge never said that the league was inappropriate in calling on him. What the judge said was that in terms of the process and the penalty, that was not clearly enough specified. So the judge made no ruling on air pressure, made no ruling on actions or illegalities, no issue at all about destroying emails or text messages. None of that was part. All it was a ruling on whether or not due process was followed and whether or not that due process included what the penalties would be for doing what he was alleged to have done.
Okay. Now, Bill would like to see Tom Brady penalized for deleting emails. Who does that remind me of? Hillary Clinton. Why should Tom Brady be in more trouble than Hillary Clinton? Why are we taking the one decent guy in the NFL who sets a pretty good example for the most part and throwing him to the lions?
Well, because in sports, and football in particular, we play by one set of rules. It doesn't matter who you are. You play like everybody else. If we start making exceptions, then where do we end? As well as football players, all pro sports athletes, and we know probably better than most, are held to a higher standard. And the fact that you cheat, or even are considered to be cheating to win a game, has a negative impact all the way down the ranks, all the way down to the little pee-wee leagues. You know, we've seen many times other sports, Little League baseball players who one of the teammates didn't live in the district.
Right.
So they won the championship. They found out he didn't live in the district. Technicality took the championship away from them.
Right.
So once they see a pro athlete be able to get away with this, or the investigation wasn't thorough enough, what does that say to them?
All right, let's put that question to Glen Rothstein. Is Tom Brady the Gaylord Perry of the new millennium?
Well, that's actually funny. That was one of the analogies that I was going to use. First, it's a pleasure to be here and air things out about Deflategate again. You know, one of the things that the judge did say in his opinion, to quote, was that Goodell dispensed his own brand of industrial justice. So whereas the bulk of the opinion was a due process argument that he didn't have sufficient notice and didn't know if the punishment would fit the crime. Really what we have here in baseball, if you're Gaylord Perry, who's become almost legendary for his spitball and Vaseline tactics, if you get suspended 10 games, that's maybe 1-2 starts for a starting pitcher over a 162-game season. So we're talking an infinitesimal percentage of the entire season. Here, Goodell went a little bit, off the trails and levied a suspension that was 4 games, which is a quarter of a season over a 16-game season. So the punishment clearly did not fit the crime. I don't think that Tom Brady is the Gaylord Perry of the NFL. At the end of the day, I don't think his reputation is going to be tarnished. I think the majority of the NFL fans really don't care about this. One statistic I saw is that 34% of the fans, disagree with Brady and don't like
Glenn,
Brady.
I'm going to hold you there for just a second, my friend. I'm going to turn to Pete. Pete, is this a real problem, or is this just folks like you trying to, feather their nest by creating a media scandal?
Well, it's media driven, but it's also driven by the other 31 owners. That's the reality. This would not have gotten to where it went without the approval of the other 31 owners who wanted to go after the Patriots and go after Robert Kraft, because this goes back to Spygate. This goes all the way back to when Goodell took over for Paul Tagliabue. One of his biggest supporters was Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots. And when Spygate came down a year or so later, all of a sudden people felt like he did his buddy a favor. He took care of the Patriots. He didn't hammer them too bad for Spygate. He destroyed the tapes, and they felt like, he did not hammer them like he should have there. This is our chance. This would not be going through without the owner's approval.
Bill, I think they've set up a wonderful soap opera here. I don't give a darn about football, but I might watch now to see if Brady kicks more mud in their eye.
See, what I think is really interesting is that while the process is on appeal, he's still playing in these games. I mean, the fact is there's been no court ruling about what he actually did, only about a due process.
But most defendants are let out on appeal.
Well, yeah, I do understand that, but I think we also have to recognize that the rules about the decisions really holds the NFL a little bit culpable here, in the sense that they've changed the rules from clear and convincing evidence had to be presented to the preponderance of evidence. So it had to go from almost like there could be no question that something happened to 51%. So now the threshold is lower. Goodell gets to pick who the independent reviewers or the investigators are going to be. And as a result, it has sort of a sham view towards the whole process. But ultimately, if the commissioner of football can issue rulings and then they're never followed, then there is going to be no meted out justice in the NFL. You want to make sure that the justice that's given out is fair, but when you take a look at the Ray Rice situation, when you take a look at the Minnesota Vikings running back situation, when you take a look at Tom Brady, whenever the league ends up issuing a ruling, it gets rejected or reduced, and as a result, why would any player in the NFL have any respect for the league anymore? They're not going to. So as a result, we have different justice for different players based upon what their skill level is, and then you have the appeals process that further undercuts this. I think Goodell has to get his house in order, and as we've heard, really the owners have to get their house in order to decide how justice is going to be laid out. It's basic common law, okay? You set down what the rule is, you do this violation, you get this penalty. That should be it. But the NFL does not have a system like that presently.
Coach, do you think the culture has changed? I grew up with people like Johnny Unitas and Joe Namath, and I can't imagine those guys being mired in a scandal like this. And if they were, they would be despised by the fans.
Yes.
Today, we take tawdry behavior for granted. We almost applaud it, and the person who's the most shameful becomes a hero.
Well, the NFL is at a crossroads. All pro sports are at a crossroads, but the NFL in particular, as my colleague was mentioning, the scandals, and it's been dating back for quite some time now, and they seem to they've risen. They've been a little bit more dangerous for the NFL and for all involved. So things have changed. Yes, the money involved now seems to have taken precedence over the game. And if they don't change their ways, if they don't get back to the basics, this is a sport of men, teams, trying to be the best. we don't really care about all that other. And under no circumstances are we going to have any team cheating. You're not going to try to get a heads up on any way, because that's not what sports is about. And if NFL doesn't tighten it up, as well as their players, just because you make millions.
If they don't do it, I'm sending you down there. And I'm going to have you talk to Roger Goodell, because you're the man to do it.
It's a wrap.
Okay. Let's turn to Glenn. Glenn, 30 seconds. Does this hurt or help the NFL at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, I think that this neither hurts nor helps the NFL. This is all hype. I wore this shirt bigger than the game for a reason. When you mentioned Joe Namath and the guarantee, that's bigger than the game. When Jackie Robinson breaks the color barrier, that's bigger than the game. When America wins in the Olympics and beats the Russians for Miracle on Ice, that's bigger than the game. This is all hype. The NFL's a product. This consumed the offseason, kept us interested in the NFL. The combines are now televised on ESPN. At the end of the day, everybody wins. Goodell looks like a neutral disciplinarian who went after the Golden Boy. He can throw up his hands and say, the court overruled me, it's not my fault. Tom Brady's back on the field, which is where the NFL wants him to be and where the fans want to see him play. This will play out.
I'm going to hold you there, Glenn, and thank you for your time. We appreciate your insight. I'm going to give the final word to Pete Mundo. Pete, what is your prediction for the season? Will Brady continue to dominate? Will the Patriots go to Super Bowl 50, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a situation here where you saw it Thursday night against the Steelers. Tom Brady was as focused as you've ever seen him. He walked off the field afterwards, did not speak to the media. This was a big middle finger to the rest of the league, to Roger Goodell, to everybody involved. He is going to go out there, and the Patriots, they're going to win their 12 games this season. They're going to get to the AFC Championship. They may win another Super Bowl, and that is what Tom Brady is going for. He wants nothing more this year than to go out there, stick it to Goodell, and win a Super Bowl.
Sounds great. And for participating in today's program, you all get a Bigger Than the Game t-shirt that you can wear all summer long.
We look forward to that.
On the beach. I want one too. When we come back, empowering those who hold what many believe is the most important job in the world. Any guesses? Being a parent. More on that after this.